Yo, good morning. Just do a mic check and run through everything's working fine. Hey, Callum, sounding good. Cheers, Theo. Sweet. Hey, Jose. Yeah, just had the morning coffee, so good to go. Just wait a few minutes for a few more to flood in. It's only 10 a.m. on the dot. Yes. So, how many have got on the call? We've got 17 on the call, 18 on the call, probably including myself. Um, By the way, off the record, is there anyone on the call here that's really familiar with my FX book and like technical stuff? Because I had my account linked to my FX book up until Friday, and there's some kind of update, which means it's no longer connected to my account. So anything I've done today and yesterday is no longer being recorded. And I've tried to update it, and I'm just getting lots of access denied shit, which is driving me mad. The whole point of linking it to my FX book is to share my results over the next couple of months. So if anyone like watching this later on, or anyone that's on the call now knows, let me know. Or I'll just scour YouTube for videos for the rest of the morning. Yeah, so in the meantime, let's go over, yeah, Callum, honestly, tech stuff goes over my head. So I'm just running off the laptop this morning, so I'll put the chat box over here. Now you can't see it. Yeah, so let's start off with EU. It's been a pretty active week this week. No surprise, adding in the refinements. We told you it was going to happen. And this is exactly why we didn't release it all straight away, because it would be too much, right? If you remember, even 4, 5, 6 weeks back, those that have been here since then, you remember how much questions there were when we first launched the Power of Two. And that was just the basics, right? Follow through, no follow through. That was it. One entry model. And I was already taking counter trend trades beforehand, but then decided to not kind of share those, and actually stopped taking them myself to make sure I was fully in alignment with Tom and with the community, and not to confuse anyone, cause any confusion at all. But adding them back in and seeing everyone taking these within a matter of days is super sick to see. And obviously, we're potentially doubling the amount of opportunities that we've got. Of course, we're doubling the risk exposure as well. And when trading more than one pair, you just got to accept that risk or be careful. Maybe choose one pair. This is exactly why I said make sure that you test first rather than just jumping in to live markets. But if you've done some good testing on it, then brilliant, fantastic. And then with the extended sweeps as well, extended sweeps are really, really common. And again, will just supercharge your results in back testing and will increase the amount of opportunities in the live market as well. But again, make sure you've tested it first on each pair. Like if you've tested it on EU, don't go trade extended sweeps on GU, and vice versa. You got to make sure you test it on both pairs, right? Sweet. So I've left both charts how they were yesterday. EU hasn't changed anyway from a 4-hour point of view. So we'll run through EU first. So we had follow through to the downside. We had initially no follow through, right? Because we had a wick. But you can see it's this little buy to sell wick range. So there'll be nothing on a 15-minute. You can just tell when you've done enough testing and forward testing, you can tell if there was actually a 15-minute entry in there or not. There probably is something in this one previous, right? Because it's quite a large pullback. This is just wicks. So it just carried on diving lower. And then once we had that second bearish candle, confirms as follow through. So we put our premium versus discount range on, fractal to fractal. And for pro trend, just waiting for sells in premium, right? If you've done your counter trend testing and you're all clued up on the criteria, you know exactly what you're looking for. And it's quite straightforward, but you've still got to train your subconscious, right? You've still got to do some testing. You can buy into premium. And even if it keeps tapping in, right? Because we don't know. if price is going to do this or if price is going to do this. We just play the hand that we're dealt rather than trying to predict the market. We just follow the criteria on the trade plan, which is pretty straightforward, and we let our strike rate guide us through, which should be 50, 60% or above. So ignore that line there, by the way. I'll explain what that is. That was me really picking between GU and EU yesterday. It's nothing to do with 4-hour liquidity. Not going to throw a spanner in the works, don't worry. So, okay. Don't mean to do that. EU. So first of all, trades yesterday. So if I just stick a line here, we can see that the sweep yesterday for the buy actually tapped into discount. And not only that, but the sweep of the fractal range, 15-minute external fractal range, also incurred inside a kill zone. That's the two entry criteria that I need to take a trade, right? So even though the tag is in premium, again, if you've done enough testing on it, you'll see that that happens a lot, and it's well worth taking them. Some play out, some don't. This one didn't, right? And that's fine. Knowing that us taking a counter trend trade, and not only that, but taking it at the EQ holds an element of risk. But that's absolutely fine, because we then capitalize on the opposite end, and still short at the minute. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this was a 15-minute range sweep. So it tapped lower, would have had an entry above the candle that swept, but it came lower. So does anyone want to let me know in the chat what kind of entry was this? What would we call this entry model for this buy? Yeah, extended sweep and a counter trend. Yeah, absolutely. So when because we would have like a buy stop here, right? Stop loss maybe 1 or 2 pips below because it's EU, probably 2 for me. There's no extra protection unless you're going to hide it underneath this. Probably a bit far on the initial. So 2 pips below would be fine. Just getting 1 to 3 to the highs, so it would have been valid. But then as soon as price dives lower, you don't want to be leaving your order on there, because then your stop loss is too big to get a 3 to 1, right? So you would extend, you'd wait for this candle to close, by the way, and then you would place a buy stop here. If you're a little bit too late, because this is the bullish candle next, you can market execute. Otherwise, you will likely miss. So yeah. Then when it came into this area, this is where this line comes from here. If you remember, if you were in the GU or the EU chats yesterday in Discord, that there was quite a lot of buy side liquidity. If I just jump over to GU, that same buy side liquidity that we have here was never swept, right? If you want to use any of these levels, these two in particular, you can see when price was around here, it had not swept. So I was just deciding between the two pairs, which do I personally feel more comfortable with taking out of the two? And I was just basing it on that, right? So coming back to EU, we can see at that point, it had taken all buy-side liquidity. So that just gave me some extra, because I was already 1% risk exposure. So if I'm max 2% for the day, I can only take one other trade. I was like, do I take EU short or do I take GU short? I was just kind of weighing the odds. I wasn't going to take both because then I'm going against my rules, right? So I decided to take EU short. Obviously, GU has played out already. That's closed, TP, whatever. You know, doesn't affect me. We'll see what happens. But this was also a range sweep. So I wasn't factoring this liquidity for my entry. I was only factoring that in to take whether I was going to take EU or GU. So I can remove that. I just left that there to explain. But yeah, again, this was a range sweep. And this was just a straightforward, take the sweep inside New York and sell stop below. Now, I was a little bit late to this, so you can see I was filled slightly in like kind of beneficial position, but it's only because I just slightly missed it. So I actually market executed this, but it's pretty much there or thereabouts, right? 2 pips above the high, 3%, the 4 hours low is right down here, right? So there's more than enough room. So that was yesterday. I'm still in the short. Now we can see that we were in this 15-minute range overnight. Now I just wanted to point out this one here. Didn't take this because the initial sweep actually occurred before kill zone for me. So from my London kill zone right now, it starts at 7:30. We extended it by 30 minutes. It was 8 before. Now it is technically a really, really nice extended sweep trade, but that initial sweep, it happens before kill zone. You see this one, the initial sweep happens inside kill zone. And that's what I'm looking for. I want the actual sweep to happen inside kill zone. Otherwise, it's not a requirement for me. It's not fitting the entry requirements. So it would have been a nice 3% in 30 minutes, but it wasn't valid. And I wasn't even looking at the charts at that point, because normally around 8 a.m. for about 15 minutes, I'm getting the kids changed and ready for school, but it didn't fit the requirements for me. And then what happened? We took the range low. We took the range low inside kill zone. And again, I missed the initial entry on this because this is 8:15, 8:30. I'm literally at school. I'm driving the car. I'm on the school run in the morning. So luckily for me, once price was like hovering around, I think actually closer to 9 when it came back in, I saw this and I'm thinking, well, if I was at the charts at the time that this sweep happened, would I have taken it? And the answer would have been yes. And you can take the extended sweep as well, because this does dive lower, but I've already looked at this. If you had taken the initial sweep and got tagged in, and if you had a 15 pip stop loss, depending on what your broker is and how good or bad the spreads are, you should have stayed in that, which is why I didn't say, okay, I'm going to go and take it off of this. And also, if I did that, probably would not have got 3-1 to the highs. So that was my thought process behind going into the long. So I'm short and long EU right now. That's it. I'm not in anything GU. I've not actually taken any GU this week, I don't think. Yeah, just EU this week. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really bothered. I mean, if one plays out, great. We'll see. Savan, you got a question. Refining. Do I have a refining candle type for the extended sweep, which works good? No, not at all. Feel free to go and do some testing on the actual price action candle itself. But I've done like over, how many months have I done now? I've done like 28 months or something like that across both pairs, and not bothered what the candle is. It can be bullish, bearish, big, small. I mean, as long as it's not so big that I can't get a 3-1 or a 2-1 on a strong follow through, I'm happy to take it. And just over that sample size, the extended sweep return on investment was just ridiculous. It was like the best refinement in terms of results that we've added so far. So I'm just happy to take any of those. And I don't want to overcomplicate it either. The things with like price action candles, can be so much discretion involved in that, and so many, one person might say, oh, okay, this is a low test or a high test, and someone else might say, no, it's a doji, that's a hammer. And it's like, no, we don't want to cause too much confusion. Pat, is there a max candle for extended sweep? I've seen this play out after 9 candles. Yeah, this is something that we looked at. So me, Tom, and Cal were literally saying, okay, let's do some testing based on, is there a minimum or a maximum number of candles that can be extended? And there's a really simple filter for that. Is it's valid until your kill zone expires. So it can be 1 extended candle like this one, or it can be 5, 6, 7 extended candles. It's unlikely to be that many. We found on average it was 2 or 3. But yeah, there's no maximum on how many candles a sweep can extend by. but your entry is invalidated as soon as we're outside of the kill zone, right? So you've only got what, 2.5 hours in there. So hopefully that helps. Valid question. We came across this. We literally thought about this hard, and we tested it, and we're like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't really matter. Like, we've even had it where you'd have like this happen, right? And we have like quite a large candle. And this is, let's say this is your range. So we've had the sweep up here. We're inside kill zone. So let's say this is kill zone. This candle's too big, right? And then we get an extended sweep, something like this. So you could take it, okay, no tag, extend it again, take it here, stop loss here, and then it goes. That happens quite often. So it's more like you get like larger candles, and then it tends to be 2 or 3 on average. But it's your kill zone. Like if this then did that and you weren't tagged in or whatever, then you're no longer in kill zone. So the trade idea is invalid anyway. Yeah. So me, Tom, and Cal, we extended by 30 minutes early rather than late. For me, my New York finishes at 3 p.m. anyway, because I'm collecting my son from school at 3 p.m. But Tom will extend to 3:30. Just let the dog in. So what's the trade manager I use to move the stop loss and entry without placing a new order? Yeah, I just place a new order. I don't even use Trade Assistant anymore. I just trade straight up MT5 with a 15-minute. Is slow enough to do that. So yeah, I just use MT5 desktop. Just cancel it, open a new one, copy, paste, done. Takes probably 10 seconds to get it all in. Yeah, so kill zone wise, just extend the start time. So instead of 8 till 10 London, it's 7:30, 10. New York was 1:33 for me, and now it's 1 till 3. GU, let's go over to 4 hour. Cheers, Callum. See you later, mate. So I've not adjusted this because I wanted to go over price first. So yeah, similar but also different to EU. So we had initially NFT and then unconfirmed with this first bearish candle, right? Then we had NFT again because we had a bullish, we had a bearish, then bullish, right? And then after this second bearish candle, it confirms follow through because it's the second bearish candle close below the fractal. So then we're in the similar case that we can counter trend buyers into premium. And then once we're in premium, we sell. I remove these because I've explained about that. And let's have a look at the 15. So yeah, I took a trade on Friday, long, counter trend. So this was the range. It was tighter on EU, if I remember, but yeah, it was a longer spread out range on GU. So this was an internal sweep, and it was an extended sweep. And you can see again that the initial sweep happened inside London kill zone, so I was happy to take the extend. So the initial trade would have been off of that, right? So no tag, pushes lower, wait for it to close, take that order off, place a new order on. For GU, about 3 pips below the low. Awesome added protection. You can see that I used this one. Stop loss just below this previous one, but it's probably 3 pips below the wick as well. And that one played out nicely. And then we had the weekend. We had this large range. And then yesterday, the buy, that depending on your stop loss size, you would have taken a TP. But for me to have, was it 13? So I'd round up to 14 and then add 15. Yeah, that's what I would have done. So I would have taken a loss on that if I took GU. Nice one. Just passed phase 2 on a 200K. Big ups. Well done. Yeah, so That was not an extended. That was just a range sweep, standard range sweep inside London kill zone. Really, really nice trade. Counter trend, nicely in discount, and just unfortunate. Okay. And then we're into premium, so we can look to sell. So this is the range at the time. Again, this is not an extended sweep. It's the sweep that takes the range high during New York. Sell stop below the candle which swept. How many pip stop loss? So for me, 13.3, I'd round up to 14 and add another. So 15. And then today was TP, I believe. Came very close yesterday, I saw. And then TP during London this morning. Do I have a rule when price gets close to a 4-hour? You mentioned from testing prices. Yeah, it is. Like this one over here, I mentioned in Discord, we were like around here and I was like, it's so close to the 4-hour low that it's highly likely to take the low. But, you know, when the setup presents itself, you've just got to be happy to take that risk. And because I was so fresh out of tons of counter trend testing and extended sweep testing, I was happy to take it. That's another reason why it's so important to do your own data, because it builds that confidence. So even though you know you're so close to a 4-hour range low, it's like a magnet, and it is. But if your setup presents itself, take the damn trade, you know, just take that risk. You accept the risk before you take the trade. So even if you end up like 1.5 in profit, 2% profit comes back for a loss, you accept the risk before you even take it, before you even open MT4, MT5. But yeah, a lot of the time it's so drawn to it. Like today, it came very close and then it's just like sucked into it, right? Pat, do I have any rules for counter trade such as 1.2 to the EQ or whatever? In terms of TP? No, I typically I want a 1 to 3. Like I think two weeks ago, I took a 2%. I think a short GU. I made a reel out of it actually. That was a 2%. But that was just personal preference. I think there was probably some news or something why I did that. So I took a 1 to 2 TP, but no, it's only strong follow through that I'll look for minimum 1 to 2. Everything else is minimum 1 to 3. And we'll stick at that. So yeah, that's the sell that then played out. And then there was unfortunately no trade short this morning, but that probably wouldn't have been 3 to 1 to the lows anyway. And then we've breached the 4-hour lows. Do I look for all red news only or certain news? Yeah, so I'll have my news events on TradingView down here. I'll also consider, I get the FTMO emails, which I find very handy. And I will also cross-reference that with Forex Factory calendar, right? But I find the TradingView events is pretty good. Like news releases like this, headlines, I'll just trade through that. It's handy to have a look at it, right? Because if it indicates things like dollar weakness, dollar strength, you could say, okay, well, that's maybe an extra confluence you want to add in, but it's, you know, we're technical traders, so I don't want to dig too far into that. So let's adjust the 4-hour now. What we got? Let's delete these. We close as a wick. So for the time being, we have, let's move that. We have NFT. This could become unconfirmed. If this candle closes bearish below this wick. And we've got a new fractal high to move our range down. So the most recent fractal high is there. So our premium versus discount is now here. 4-hour low is there. So yeah, like this, right? When price is so close to a 4-hour, essentially a liquidity pool, ranged low or high, it's highly likely to keep taking it. So, but you don't know, just wait for the candle to close. We're not going to do anything until New York now anyway. But what I would do is I would say I can look for counter trend buys, even though it's NFT. I've done enough testing on follow through and no follow through. But yeah, you know, it's no follow through. We're looking for buys anyway. And then if price comes into premium, that would be the counter trend. So I'll look for sells if it comes into premium. If this becomes follow through, then this would remain the same. We'll just drag the range down, basically. Still looking for buys and discount and sells in premium. No change there. EU is probably going to follow suit. We can see that we're pretty bearish, right? If we're looking at this downtrend. So sells are pro trend. So the sells are more likely to play out than the buys, hence the buys being counter trend. So that's pretty much it. We just wait for 1 p.m. to look for trades for EU. Could be looking for more buys, see what happens. Or sells if it comes into premium again during New York. And then for GU, again, just wait till 1 p.m. If this low has not been breached again, then we can look for buys. If it has been breached, we'll just see how it closes. Do we get unconfirmed? Will we get another wick? So it just extends that no follow through. We can still look for buys and we'll just see. So I'll update you in Discord, my thought process behind that, my analysis. And yeah, thanks for joining in. I've got an important phone call in like 4 minutes, so I've got to dive. Anyone wanting to ask any questions on the recording, then send me a DM or use the questions channels, and I'll catch you all in Discord. Let's have an incredible week. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Catch you later.